right, so here is my weekly update for Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. I'm going to call this one an update, but I'm also going to call it Living with Intention. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Engel. I've been on hospice for 10 and a half months now due to breast cancer. It has reoccurred 3 different times, and after the 3rd time, and after a 1.5 years of estrogen reduction treatment, which left me feeling like I was 90-some years old and riddled with arthritis, I decided that the cure was worse than the disease, so I decided to just let the disease progress. I often will write down some notes, so I'll be looking up and down, because I don't want to miss a thing. Okay, what song is that? I'm not a good singer, but that's what my brain does. Just automatically give me a word and it comes up with some song lyrics. Okay, so just a little background. When I first heard that not just did the cancer metastasize into my bones, because when I heard that, I went on estrogen reduction treatment. But when I heard that it started forming nodules within my lungs, I decided it's just going to keep coming back. There's no way to stop it, so put me on hospice. I knew I wanted hospice right away, not just for the benefits of myself, but also for my family. Because on hospice, you also get like a social worker, you get a chaplain, and it's not just for the person who's going through the terminal illness, it's also for the family. And also, I've said this a lot in my videos. When I first heard about that, I had, like, when the cancer keeps recurring, for about a year before I decided to go on hospice or 2, I was really researching like near-death experiences, and I was trying to find videos of people who were going through a terminal illness. And there weren't a lot of videos about people who were open and willing to talk about the terminal illness. So I decided I would be one of those people now that we're here. And I think the reason, again, I've said this a lot of times, why I'm making it to 10 and a half months is because I was like 167 pounds when I started. I had a lot of muscle, and now I'm actually getting down to about 100 pounds. So I did actually take a selfie. I wish I could show you what everything looks like, but obviously I can't on social media. But here's a picture of a selfie of the atrophy. And one of the things that I'm finding, and I talk about this a lot, is that there's a juxtaposition where 2 seemingly opposite things can coexist at the same time, to my cancer and through my hospice journey. Again, for the first 6 months, I was really researching like near-death experiences, and I was researching, the difference between palliative care and hospice, and I got Hospice Nurse Julie's book, and I looked up the different stages of dying. And if you look at the first 6 months of my videos, it's like, okay, I'm at this stage, I'm at this stage. I was really focused on the death part of dying. And then something happened in the summer, and I went to the hospital, and through that and through all of my caregivers and even some people on social media and friends and family, I was able to do a 180. I switched my viewpoint from focusing on dying to focus on living until death. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that when they're on a hospice or terminal illness journey. I think a lot of people focus on the death part, and I want to focus on the living part. And because of that, when I was focused on the death part, I had severe nausea. Like I have, let's see, I think I even have one right here, just in case. I have these like little throw up packets everywhere around my house because I had such bad nausea. I even still have my nausea medication in case. But for months now, I haven't had nausea anymore. I was in severe pain because I think I was laying around even more. I found that sometimes just laying in one bed, can actually cause severe pain. So I started kind of forcing myself and getting up. The other thing that helped conquer pain was diet. I listened to my body and what my body needed and wanted. And when I eat right and when I listen to my body, I do take morphine, but really I only take it 2 or 3 times a day. Where before, when I was focused on the death part, the morphine didn't even really seem to do anything. And then they put me on fentanyl patches, and I think all of that increased the nausea. It was really bad when I was focusing on the death part and when I was only lying in bed. But I defeated that. I got off the fentanyl, and I'm only down to 2 or 3 1.0, which is one of these, doses a day. So that's awesome. So on one hand, I'm actually getting better. I can, no more nausea, very little pain, and I can move around still. It's very difficult for me to move around, but at the same time, I am atrophying, right? So I'm not going to be able to do some of the same things I used to do. I can't bend over and pick something off the floor if it fell all the way down to the floor. And even me getting up and moving around, I think it was Monday, I had a lot of energy, and I made like a potato leek soup, and I actually like peeled the potatoes. I sat down and I peeled the potatoes and chopped everything, and I got creative. Like, I can't lift big heavy pots of water, so I would just pour the water in the pot, and then I'd use like a ladle to scoop out the potatoes and put them in a blender. And then the things that I couldn't do, I had other people do for me, like wash the pot and put the pot away and things like that. But I really pushed myself, and I kind of felt it. So then Tuesday and Wednesday, I was a lot more chill, and I sat a lot more. But I felt really good about what I did and what I am still able to do. So on one hand, I'm getting better, and I want to stay as strong as I can, as long as I can, so that I don't have that to be bedridden very long, because being bedridden actually causes the pain. So I'm trying the best I can. But at the same time, I'm getting close to like 100 pounds. There's not a lot left to atrophy. So 2 things are happening at the same time. On one hand, I'm doing great, and on the other hand, I'm fading away quite a bit. Let's see. And yeah, there's a delicate balance between that, because on one hand, it'll make you a little stronger to get up and move around, but you also have to be kind of careful that I don't do too much, because there might not be enough cushion to like keep rubbing. So I could technically hurt myself if I do too much. So there's always this delicate balance that I'm playing physically, with getting up and moving around, as well as with my eating. The other thing that is kind of new is I'm a little bit of a fall risk. Some people might say medium to high. Simply because I am wearing oxygen 24/7. And for those of you, let's see if I can do this, who don't know, you're attached to like this very long hose. And that's so that I can get around the house. But it could be very easy to trip over, so that's why they say I'm like a medium to high risk. I have pretty good balance, but I did fall one evening, and that was kind of a wake-up call that I do need to be more careful. So we've made a plan in my family that If someone's around, I can still move around. That way, if I fall, someone can pick me up. But if people are sleeping or if they're absent, to actually not move around and wait until somebody comes back home. So that's new this week. Let's see. So I've been talking about how I feel really good and how I have to really be intentional about moving and about my diet. One of the things that I've started to do is kind of go back to mushy foods. A typical day will look like 2 applesauces for like, I actually eat a lot like right away for like lunch. So I might have 2 applesauces and then I might wait just a little bit and then I'll have a cup of like mushy soup, like potato leek soup or something like that. Or something with like rice and curry. I'm pretty much vegetarian. I can't say vegetarian. I do like chicken broth, but I just won't eat meat because that's like very hard for my body to digest. So let's see. 2 cups of applesauce, some sort of like mushy soup, and then I might take like a banana, mush it up, and put some peanut butter and maybe some chocolate sauce in it and mix it up. Very soft foods, easy to digest foods. So sometimes I might only eat that, and then maybe on a day when I'm a little bit more empty, I might have a bowl of spaghetti for dinner. And that's pretty much my diet, like something like that. And I'll show the cup that I use because that's pretty much all my stomach can handle. So here's a picture of that cup that I use, and know that that's probably 2 or 3 of those a day, and that's it. So the reason why I am going back to mushy foods is because I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be stronger and independent. So I'm kind of preparing for if I do need to be bedridden. I also, even before hospice and cancer and everything, and before my intestinal system starting to shut down and reject certain foods, I already had bowel issues, I guess you could say, because I have spina bifida. So again, I have to be very intentional with my choices. So for those of you who don't know, I also have to do an enema every day. I've had to do that since I was 19 due to the spina bifida and not cancer. Now, if I can actually do it in the bathroom, I can probably eat different things. But if I'm going to be bedridden, one thing I did find is when I was eating mushier foods and things like that, my body almost worked normal, except it became incontinent, which means I couldn't control it, which means I had to wear diapers for a little bit. And then when I started doing my medical things back in the bathroom, so when I was eating mushy and when I wasn't feeling well, I did it in my bed, and the enema in my bed, and that sounds really gross, and how do you do that? And I'm not going to get into the procedure of that, but I can tell you there's tons of medical supplies that make it possible without it actually being that gross or messy. That's all I'm going to say about it. But what it made me think and experience and know is that I'm getting closer to possibly being bedridden. So I want to make my intestinal system as healthy as possible so that if I am bedridden, I might have to just go back to diapers. No one has to do an enema for me. I won't be constipated because I won't be in pain, but I'll probably have to go back to wearing diapers. And these are things that I have to think about on this hospice journey. And I'm willing to talk about it because I'm not the only one. Everybody, when they get back on, when they get closer to end of life, becomes like a baby, where people have to do everything for you and everybody becomes incontinent. Generally, unless you die in your sleep, which is what I'm hoping for. Not that I want to die. I'm not suicidal. Don't think that. I'm not. But if I have to have a choice, that's my number one choice. But if my number two choice, I heard that it takes a week to die and to be in bed, is to make it as easy on my caregivers as possible, then I'm going to return to that baby state. And I have to know that. And I have to mentally prepare for that. And so I have to be intentional about what I eat and why I eat that way. Number one, it's for my own comfort. That's my number one goal for this whole thing, is to not be in pain and to be comfortable. And I am. So I'm meeting my goal. But it doesn't mean that because I'm meeting my goal, things are going to look pretty or they're going to be perfect. There's some drawbacks to my goal. But that's the same for everyone, which is why I'm willing to talk about it maybe when nobody else is. So yeah, intentional about my decisions, because if I mess up, the cost is higher for being in pain, for all of that, and I won't be able to meet my goals. Another thing that I did is I worked on checklists for my caregivers while I still have energy and a sound mind. So here's just a quick image of that. Again, you really want to plan, because when you have checklists and stuff like that, it's your voice when you don't have a voice. So as I feel like I'm getting closer, I want to make sure my voice is heard when it can't be heard. So that's another thing that I did this week. My mental health is actually really good. And again, that is because how intentional I have been about keeping it that way. For me, it's easier to go through this dying process because the cost of not being intentional, like I said, is high. There's pain involved. There's like high levels of pain. I don't want that. So I really have to be intentional about all my choices, about getting up and moving, about eating, about all of those things. So the word of the day is intentional. The more intentional you are with your life and your life choices, what you eat, what you put in your body and mind, the different kind of choices you make, how to take care of yourself. What I tell people is you can start being intentional by choosing the top 3 to 5 things that are the most important to you and then lining your life up with that. If somebody asks you to do something and it's not part of your 3 to 5 things that are important to you, it's a lot easier to say no. And then I talked about last week about how, you might have a million things to do at work or at home. Write out that list, but then be intentional. Only choose like maybe 1 to 3 or whatever you feel you can do off that list. And then when you're doing that thing, do that thing. Focus on that thing. Be intentional about it. Because I believe that being intentional and living your life intentionally will give you a lot more comfort and a lot less pain. And you don't have to be dying or at the end of your life to want to be in pain and to be uncomfortable, and then to live your life intentionally so that you do reduce that pain and you reduce that discomfort. Thank you for joining me this week, and let's see what the word of the day or how things go next week. Hope you have a good week. Okay, here's a little postscript. It's amazing how much can change in just a day. I don't know if it's because I've been pushing myself, because I've been eating mushy foods. Excuse me. But I've lost a lot of energy in the last 2 days, and some of it might be because I'm eating carbs. I moved on to like potato soup. I do find when I eat carbs I get more tired. I'm trying to increase my calories or keep my calories, so I'm even having a little late night snack of some curry vegetable rice soup. This is about the serving size. Think about it up to here that I can eat for each meal. Today I had 2 cups of applesauce, about a serving of this of potato soup, and a frozen banana with peanut butter. And I do feel I need a few more calories, so I'm doing a little late night snack. But either because I've been pushing myself, don't have a lot of calories. I've been a little bit more tired and sitting a little bit more, so that's where we are. All right, here's a postscript. It's Tuesday, and I actually feel a lot better. I have a lot more energy. I decided to eat more today. I had some fish, and I was really excited. I had a friend who brought over highly nutritional soup and like a dessert thing made out of carrots, and when I have more calories that I can put into my body, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I do feel better and I am awake. And when I don't put in a lot of calories, just how fast I lose energy. So that's day to day. So if I have a day where I don't eat a lot of calories because I can't really cook, or we don't have a lot of food in the house or whatever, super tired and feel like I'm going down. But then all of a sudden I get food and here I am, awake and aware. So that is how we will end it. And I don't know, maybe I should do some videos like every day, but I don't know if that would get boring or not. I don't know if once a week is good enough, but those are long. So maybe leave your comments or your suggestions below. Would you like to see how I'm doing daily, or is weekly working?